How you position your hands on the golf club has a massive effect on your ability to move the club in a proficient manner throughout the motion and get that quality compressed strike where you get the ball first, the ground second. It's what the best players in the world do, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Kerrod Gray here on the range today at Joondalup Resort, and in this lesson I'm going to show you how to grip the golf club correctly, specifically with your backhand, so the right hand for the right-hander, how to position it on the golf club to allow you to create sufficient hinge, lag and compression on that golf ball. It's something that a lot of players don't understand, and I'm going to show you and detail specifically of how you need to put your hands on the golf club to encourage this golf club to move in the correct sequence and get the body, the arms and the club working how you intend to get the most out of your golf swing. But before we get into it, please go down below, click subscribe, click that little bell if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on all the content coming your way. Once again, 2 videos a week going forward. We might even step this up to 3, just so you're getting the most out of this content to help you improve in the year ahead. Just an added little note here, I am available for online coaching through a fantastic app called Skillest. There's a link down below. If you're struggling with any part of your game, you can simply send me your swings and I'll send you back a personalized analysis and video of me standing in front of the camera, giving you the exact instructions that you need to follow to improve that area of your game that may be giving you some frustrations. But on to today's content, we're talking about the back wrist, the right wrist for the right-hander, what needs to happen throughout the motion, how we should grip it to give us that nice compression on the golf ball that you see with your favorite player. So first of all, let's detail some of the inefficient moves that we do see, starting from the setup and then how that affects the rest of the backswing. And one of the most common ones that we do see is when players get their right hand too far under the golf club. So if you're a left-hander, simply just flip this one around. And what we see as a result is the palm of the hand will face too much up towards the sky in this direction. The thumb will be on the side of the grip and the fingers overlapping too much. Now in this video, we're not talking about the left hand or the front hand, simply just pertaining to the backhand and how that affects the swing. So from this angle here, if I get my right hand too far under, you can see that actually starts to change the orientation of my shoulder. It's going to put my wrist in such a way that it's more than likely going to close the club face off. I'm going to twist it, also affecting what the lead hand is doing. And generally what we would see as an effect of this is the club face would twist and turn too much, get very shut, and then you'd struggle with contact. Alternatively, the next thing that we do see is with players who get their right hand too far under, well then as they bring the golf club back, they pull their arms around the body, but it's very challenging to create any width or structure with your arms when you do so. The main reason being, from this initial position, as soon as I make this retracting move with my right elbow, this right wrist tends to freeze up. Players generally tend to carry too much tension when they do so, and it makes it very hard to get that lag and that shaft lean that you might be missing out on if you're doing this in the setup position. So standing from the face-on position, once again, we want to see that the hand isn't too far underneath the golf club like this. Secondary to that, if we actually get our hand too far on top of the golf club, so the top of the hand is actually facing too much up towards the sky like you can see in this position, well once again that can start to roll this whole right shoulder in towards the golf ball and then affect the way that the golf club moves throughout the motion as well. So as you can see, just for a multitude of reasons, it's very important that we put this right hand on the golf club correctly. So let's talk about the benefits of getting the right hand set correctly on the grip and then what that allows you to do throughout the swing. Well, first of all, if I get my right hand positioned correctly on the grip, as I begin to take the golf club away, I would be holding the golf club securely, but with the proper right hand grip. What that's going to allow me to do is not have any tension in the wrists. So as I move this weighted object around my body, what will happen is the right wrist will naturally start to flex back, the left wrist will begin to flatten, which is what we see with the best players in the world by the time they get to this frame here. Secondary from that, once the right wrist has begun to hinge back in this fashion here, well that enables me to apply some pressure and some width away of that handle from my body, which is what we see with players that enable themselves to get the golf club back in front, the right wrist stays flexed and gets the golf club coming in that shaft lean orientation that you see with the best players. Once again, from the face-on view, we set up in this fashion here. If I allow my right wrist to get the feeling that it's hinging slightly back, my left wrist will flatten. From there, it creates a structure with my right arm that allows me to apply pressure, and you can see that we create this great width with the trail arm, which is what we see with the best ball strikers as they then continue to bring it down underneath this and the handle leaning forward at the moment of impact. Once again, you can see the right wrist is actually bent back. So how you position your right wrist and your right hand at address is very important to allow all that to happen, and I'm going to show you a great strategy to do so. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your left arm out in front of you for the right hander. Just flip this around if you're a left hander, and then get your right arm sitting on top of your pec like this. This is very important. From here, we can see that our elbow crease is facing more up towards the sky, and we're going to have a few degrees of bend in that arm. Now, it can be slightly rotated in like this, but my preference is to have it sort of on about a 45-degree angle, maybe even a little bit more out towards the sky. Now, what most players don't understand is that the palm and the forearm and the elbow can move independently when they put their hands on the golf club. Most players, when the club's down on the ground, all they simply do is they just roll the whole arm on top, or they just get the whole thing underneath in this fashion here, but you can actually move them independently. So this little process that I'm showing you allows you to do so, which is the correct way to actually put your hands on the golf club. So once you've got the club set out in front of you like this, I like to see a bit of an angle established in this position. Once again, not talking about the left hand. If you want to learn more about that, there's a bunch of videos on my channel pertaining to do so. And what we're going to do with this elbow crease facing out towards the camera is we're actually just going to turn our palm down without turning our elbow crease towards the grip or towards the left arm like that. We're turning our palm down. Now, when I do so, we want to create a bit of a hinge in that wrist. So when I flip around in this direction, what that's going to allow me to do is place this golf club on more of a diagonal across my fingers. So you can see how that grip relative to its position is going on a diagonal through the fingers. Most players are simply just putting it straight through, or actually just applying their palm on the golf club like this. And what we like to see, regardless if you're overlap, interlock, baseball grip, any of those, is that we're getting from the base of the pinky through that first knuckle of the index, applying through the grip in this position here. You can see that it actually puts it on an angle. I like to see a bit of separation specifically between the index and the middle finger as it applies onto the grip for a multitude of reasons, but mainly this allows us to apply pressure on the back of the shaft as the club is coming into impact. It's going to make the club face a lot more stable and encourage you to get some more compression and shaft lean as that club strikes the golf ball. So we've got our hand on that diagonal and our thumb sits on this position here. And from the face-on view, what we're looking for is that we've got a slight amount of flex to that right wrist, or that back hand in the address position. The reason this is important, once we've got our hands forward set, the end of the club should be pointing towards our left belt loop in this fashion here. And with the right wrist slightly set forward in this orientation, that allows straight away it to hinge back. If my wrist is under here, or I've got it too much through the fingers, not on a diagonal, but straight across, well, it's very hard for this right wrist to actually hinge and load in the correct fashion, and then it's not going to ensure that this club face actually works in the correct manner. So from the down the line view, once again, we're getting our elbow crease up, we're turning our palm slightly down, it's going through the fingers, and we've got a bit of a gap, as you can see, between the index and the middle finger. Our thumb and index should be forming somewhat of a straight line, and it should feel like a pinching of that index finger and the thumb on the back of the shaft. When we set up to the golf ball here, I always like to feel that we're applying a little bit more pressure of that right hand, the right palm against that left thumb. It's a very important pressure point in the golf swing. And by doing so, that'll just encourage a little bit of shaft lean and allow the right wrist once again to hinge slightly back, which as we then take the golf club away, will ensure that the club begins to hinge. As a result of doing so, it enables us to turn more, but keep the arms relatively in front, which keeps them in front of the downswing, which allows the handle to get forward at the moment of impact, reducing your likelihood of scooping the golf ball. Casting and scooping, it's two of the most common frustrations that I hear from players, and by allowing your right wrist to actually be set in the correct orientation at address, it allows that hinge to work back in such a fashion that'll deliver that golf club in a far more effective and efficient manner relative to probably what you're doing at the moment. So once we've gone through that process, I'm just going to clip a few down there, getting the same feeling. Let's see how we go. I make sure I've got that diagonal sensation of the club across my fingers. You'll even see a bit of a waggle with professionals where they move the club head, just allowing the right wrist to move back. That releases tension. Let's hit some down there. You can see that ball shot off, ball first contact, ground second, nice little draw. The orientation of that hand allowed that club face to be close to the path and gave us that great ball flight that we just saw there. So extending on from that, as you can see, the importance of the right hand situated on the grip in the correct manner allows a whole follow-on slew of sequences to work in your favor to deliver that golf club in the most efficient manner. So if you're struggling with your ball striking, you film yourself, or it's something that you're working on with your local PGA professional, and you realize that your hand and your palm is not quite in the same orientation as what I've described, we'll run through this video, really have a good look at your hand, see how it's applied against the fingers in the correct fashion. And if you implement this and you haven't done it before, you may feel a totally different sensation to what you've always done on allowing that golf club to hinge and move correctly throughout the motion. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you got any questions at all, please ask me below. But until next time, I'm Kerrod Gray. Thanks for watching.